Let's take you live now to New York. Former President Donald Trump in court today, day 3 of the civil fraud trial. The presiding judge, though, late yesterday slapped Trump with a limited gag order, demanding the former president delete a social media post where he blasted the judge, the clerk, and the New York Attorney General. Joining us live right now outside the courthouse with the latest is John Glasgow. John, what's the scene like there today?
Well, there's a little less media, but that doesn't mean that Donald Trump didn't take advantage of it. He was out in front of the cameras when he went into the courtroom again today. As you mentioned, he's under a gag order. Now, it's a limited gag order. He's unable to talk about any of the staff that go along with Judge Arthur Engoron. So that's something that he's been keeping in mind. He did change his tune a little bit when it came to what he was saying. Now, he did take some shots at the AG, Letitia James, but he also didn't. He came forward more with his defense, is that he did borrow the money, he leveraged the properties, everybody got paid, but this is what he had to say about the AG. Let's watch.
It's a shame for our country. You borrow money, you pay it back, the bank loves us. They said, what did he do wrong? He didn't do anything wrong. We loaned him money, a big bank. These are big banks, by the way, represented by the biggest law firms, the most prestigious, the best law firms in the country. You borrow money, you pay it back, and you get sued by a political animal. And that's where we are. And that's the way it goes.
So here's what's happening on day 3 of this case. Judge Arthur Engoron opened with a joke when the cameras were allowed in. He said, "We do this every day, and we all look the same." Trump's legal team called Donald Bender first to the stand. That's Trump's former accountant. Now, our reporter inside says they're trying to discredit his role in the Trump organization and his knowledge of property value. See Bender testifying that he's worked on 11,000 Trump projects since 2011. Judge Engoron allowed this evidence to be presented despite being outside of the statute of limitations, because Trump can't be convicted of fraud before 2015. So the prosecution has to prove that it's relevant to the alleged fraud within the statute of limitations. So the states accused Trump of routinely overvaluing his assets for years. A judge found the former president guilty last month, revoking his business licenses within the state of New York, meaning that Trump could lose his valuable real estate properties and also pay a $250 million fine. But let's get back to that gag order real quick. So Trump posted a message about the law clerk for the judge in the case, showing a picture of her with Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. He said that the law clerk and Schumer, they had a relationship, which Schumer has denied. Now, Trump's being very careful about what he says today because of that gag order. However, he was asked before going into court if he'd consider the open seat as Speaker of the House. Let's watch.
We have some great people.
Would you take the job?
A lot of people have asked me about it. I'm focused. You know, we're leading. I don't know you. I'm sure you don't read too much in the papers. But we're leading by like 50 points for president. You know, my focus is totally on that. If I can help them during the process, I would do it. But we have some great people in the Republican Party that could do a great job as Speaker.
So they took a brief recess. Court is back in session now. We do have a reporter inside listening to everything that's happening. Donald Bender still being grilled here by Trump's legal defense in the cross-examination. However, the former president was not in the courtroom just a few moments ago. It's unclear whether or not he's left or is somewhere in the courthouse but hasn't been seen. We're still following that, but all these developments, the latest there is that he's been asked whether or not he's going to be Speaker of the House, and it doesn't sound like he's open to that nomination and more focused on the presidency. Bianca?
All right. Never a dull moment. I know you're covering us outside. We're covered inside for all the breaking details. John Glasgow, thank you. Appreciate it. And let's bring in now senior advisor to former President Trump, Jason Miller, who has been inside the courtroom with Trump all week. We've been seeing your cameos there behind Trump as he comes out and addresses the media. Jason, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Let's talk a little bit about what Trump said today, talking specifically about this particular civil case, that there really should have been a jury. He even feels in a Democratic state like New York, he would have done better with the jury. Let's play this.
Well, I'm not entitled to a jury, because if I had a jury, even though it's in New York, and I think I'd be fine with New York, but if I had a jury, we'd win this case very easily, but I don't have a jury. And you see what's happening. This is a railroading, and it's the beginning of communism in our country. This is the beginning of communism.
The Judge Engoron has raised a lot of eyebrows with his former comments about juries and how he wants to overrule them, as you know. But, Trump really has been able to seize this moment to really bring a wider message. But many do say this case does have a lot on the line for him. You've been there. How's the mood? How is he feeling? And what do you make of those comments today about communism and what is playing out in America's courts?
Well, Bianca, President Trump has been in a great mood. And I tell you, he's looking at the poll numbers for both the general election, where he's beating Biden by a lot, thinking about 10 points. Looking at the primary, where he's leading Rob DeSanctimonious by about 50 points. So that's a pretty big margin there. But the critical thing here is that because President Trump went to the courtroom, didn't have to, but he did, to go and shine a light on what's going on, everybody is now awakened to the fact that this judge is basically trying to railroad this case through. And we saw whether it be the $18 million valuation of Mar-a-Lago, and it's worth 50 to 100 times more, ridiculous. But now people are paying attention to just how insane and how much of a witch hunt this trial is. One thing, Bianca, when you're showing the footage there of Letitia James, the Attorney General of New York, in the back, she ran on and campaigned on Get Trump, and she sat there scowling that first day when she was in the courtroom. And I tell you, this case never should have been brought. You can see just how politicized it's become here. But now we all got to see it. We all paid attention to it. Otherwise, because it's just this civil matter, many in the media would like to sweep it under the rug. And,
you were in there. So not only, we're looking at it from afar, but being inside, there's definitely, you can pick up on the energy, if you will. And also just the first day when we saw the judge take off his glasses, I believe we have it, briefly smile as well. It seemed like it was more of a photo op here, Jason, and, not a civil proceeding here. It just seemed like it was not appropriate, any of this. Have you seen more of that, these sort of circus-like atmosphere, things that we aren't catching on camera because we don't have cameras in the courtroom?
Well, yes, there are a number of things. So Alina Habba, who's one of the president's attorneys, did a fantastic job on the first day of highlighting the president's positions. But also, she called out the fact that the judge in this case went and valued Mar-a-Lago $18 million and basically called out the fact that the judge is not an expert when it comes to real estate and real estate transactions. But then also when Alina was talking about how politicized this has been with Letitia James and how she campaigned on this, you could see Letitia James just grinding her teeth and shaking her head. So you see some of the energy in the room. But, the clip that you showed there, when they brought in the pool camera and they showed President Trump and Chris Kise and Alina at their table, and they went to the judge and he takes off his glasses. I saw online someone did a meme where it looked like an intro to The Office, and they put the music to The Office, the intro, and they're bouncing around. The judge is laughing and taking off his glasses. I'm like, what is going? How is this even serious? And that's why when you saw President Trump come out and say, now that we're weaponizing our judiciary system, now that we're trying to lock up our opponents or try to shut them down business-wise, I'm glad that we're able to see that.
Yeah, it is a travesty. And people, when you're making memes about the judge, maybe it'll get back to him, too, that his conduct is not fitting and not being well received. Jason Miller, always good to see you. Appreciate your time. It's really interesting insight that you're providing from inside the courtroom. It is day 3. We'll have you back real soon.
Thanks, Bianca.
Thank you.